even though you may never use that topic, that thing that you had to learn, the chapter that you had to learn in order to take the test, right? Even though it's challenging, you may never ever use it again later in life, the fact that you learned it opens up pathways in your brain to give you better access to information. How I make decisions is based on a very, very simple formula, okay? First of all, I decide what my personal values and principles are. In other words, in everything that I do in life, I decide if I'm a father, I have 3 teenage daughters. As a father, I decide that one of my core values, or said another way, what's really important to me is that I want to be the best father for my daughters that they could possibly imagine. If I'm also an employer, I own several companies, right? If I'm an employer, I want to be the best employer. If I'm a student and I'm sitting in your seats, I want to be the best student, right? So one of my values is to do my best. Another one of my values is to contribute to others. That's why I'm here today. It's why I'm here today and excited to be here today with you to share some of my mistakes and encourage you guys to take school seriously, right? That's one of my values. Does that make sense? So what I learned to do over the years is to condition myself. Remember when I started out earlier, Harvard says 93% of our decisions are made unconsciously, like we don't put conscious thought into making our decisions. Well, there's a way to train yourself to make the best decisions based on the kind of person you decide to be. So if you're a student, you have a decision to make. What kind of student do you think it would be best for you to be? Anyone? What would a good student look like? Yeah, go ahead. It was Tyler. Straight A's, sure. Now, I'll tell you something interesting that I've learned over the years. A couple of things. Number one, here's the day you're born, the day you die. We're all going to die, right? You guys, somebody's let you in on that, right? Okay. What would you say high school, where would you put like graduating from high school on this timeline? Just tell me when to stop. Right there? Check this out. Check this out. For 87% of Americans, 90% of their learning happens here. Is that crazy? It is to me. 90% of adults, because you're an adult by the time you graduate high school, right? 87% of students, or 87% of Americans do 90% of their learning in this time period. Meaning that they quit learning and they quit growing. Does that make sense? And so what I discovered about learning, sure, especially in high school, I had to learn a lot of things that I didn't think would actually help me later in life. Only to discover later in life, oh geesh, I wish I'd have paid closer attention in school, right? What happens when you're, and I tell this to my daughters all the time, what happens when you're learning topics that you don't necessarily, there are some topics that you learn that it's like, God, this is hard because you're just not that interested in it. You guys have courses or classes that you take that you're just not that interested in. Where you do yourself the greatest gift is really pushing hard to study and learn and understand those topics, because what happens, psychologists and scientists have found, is that when you're learning topics that are challenging or difficult, you're actually creating new neural pathways that then give you greater ability to problem solve later on. Does that make sense? So even though you may never use that topic, that thing that you had to learn, the chapter that you had to learn in order to take the test, right? Even though it's challenging, you may never ever use it again later in life, the fact that you learned it opens up pathways in your brain to give you better access to information.